Hello, this is Justin Check from the Northern Plains Regional Field Office. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about pre-screening an existing June area segment, why we do it, and how we do it. Information collected during the pre-screening process is recorded on the area screening form and in CAPI. This screening form serves as a track directory for the segment, where you record the complete names and addresses for all tracked operators, both ag and non-ag. Previously enumerated segments will have tracked operators pre-printed on the screening form. The screening form also determines if a tracked operator qualifies for an area ag tract questionnaire. This ensures that all farms are screened properly and have a complete ag tract questionnaire when needed. On the back of the form, there are places for you to verify that the number of tract letters listed on the screening form matches the number of tract letters on the aerial photo. It will also help you verify that the sum of reported acres matches digitized acres. Pre-screening allows us to identify operators in a segment before the busy June area data collection timeframe. During pre-screening, we try to identify who operates each tract of land within a segment. So, how do you find out who the owners or operators of these tracts are? We'll go over some of the methods and resources that you'll use during this training. But first, I'll talk a little about why we pre-screen segments. The primary purpose of pre-screening is to identify segment boundaries, segment layout, non-agricultural areas within the segment, and the names and addresses of possible contacts. Pre-screening is done for new segments rotating into data collection, and some regions may also target previously enumerated segments where we have found changes and believe a new operator needs to be identified. This means that all segments in pre-screening are areas where we know that new operators will need to be researched and contacted. Because of how much extra time it takes to identify new tract operators within a segment, pre-screening takes place prior to the official data collection period. However, enumerators will not conduct interviews on ag tract questionnaires during the pre-screening timeframe. Because the agricultural estimates generated from the June area survey are based on a June 1 reference date, it is very important that any agricultural production on the operation, especially planted acreage and livestock inventory or grain stocks, are not collected until closer to or after June 1. If done correctly, pre-screening segments can increase efficiency of data collection, improve survey data quality, and allow additional time for data collection. When pre-screening is complete, each tract identified on the aerial photo must have a completed row on the screening form. Even segments that are entirely non-ag will still require at least one tract letter and one contact name. Eventually, these operations may be selected for agricultural surveys during the next year, so it is vitally important that all names and addresses are correct. Tract operators that were identified in past years and have already been pre-screened in past years will also have names and addresses listed and pre-printed on the screening form. However, all of the names and addresses from past years should still be verified each year. These tract operators will have a tract letter already assigned on the pre-printed screening form from previous year surveys. These operators will keep the same tract letter. New tract operators must be added to the screening form with complete names and addresses. Newly identified operators should be assigned the next unused tract letter. In preparation for pre-screening, you should work with state maps, county maps, and aerial photos to locate the segments you are assigned. Before visiting the segment, be sure to plan an efficient route to help reduce mileage and make good use of your time. Once there, take the time to gain knowledge of what is in the segment. It is recommended that you drive around the segment to become familiar with landmarks such as roads and buildings. As you familiarize yourself with the segment, take notes about what you see, which will make it easier for you when you contact owners and potential operators within the segment. In addition to conducting a visual inspection of the segment, you have several tools available to assist you in identifying tract operators. For each segment, special maps have been generated identifying farms that have signed up for various programs with the Farm Service Agency. There will also be a CoreLogic parcel map, which will show boundaries of parcels of land. This parcel map correlates to a CoreLogic listing that you can use to identify parcel owners within the segment. During your contacts with owners and operators in each segment, you may find particularly helpful respondents within the segment who can help you identify other operators within the segment. Online resources can help to identify owners, operators, or residents within a segment. Information from your observations, perhaps a name on a mailbox or a sign with the farmer's name at the end of the driveway, can also be a great way to identify a potential respondent. Your supervisor, NASDA coordinator, and the staff at the regional field office also have resources that can help you. It is important that you use all the tools you have available, including each other, to get through the pre-screening process. Be creative and share ideas with supervisors and other experienced enumerators. Be sure also to work smart to save time and money. This is an example of one of the FSA CLU or Common Land Use Maps. Each of the different colors and numbers is associated with the different farm number signed up with the Farm Service Agency. Areas which are not highlighted in color are not on FSA's current records, but that does not mean that they are necessarily non-agricultural. This is an example of what the listings might look like for a segment for a particular FSA map. The columns will indicate the farm number, the last time the farm signed up for an FSA program, whether the name listed for that farm number is an operator, owner, or other tenant, and what share that person is scheduled to receive for any program payments tied to that parcel. The rows that have yes in the mailed column have been mailed a survey information packet within the segment map and should be your starting point to begin calling. The listings will include all known names and operations associated with that farm number, so it might be a challenge to determine who is the most appropriate person to reach out to during pre-screening. In fact, you may need to reach out to all of the names on the FSA listings to be certain that we have the right person or persons who make the day-to-day decisions for the operation. Be sure to check the spelling of the operator's name before you record it in the screening form. You should also ask for a middle initial to make sure we have the correct person operating a tract, especially if the name listed is a common name. You will also see addresses and phone numbers for these owners and operators, which are based on current records maintained by FSA. These will need to be verified as well. If you have questions about FSA data, please check with the regional field office. This is an example of what I referred to as the CoreLogic parcel map. Generally, the boundaries are based on county assessor data and other sources, but the map helps to identify all owners, both ag and non-ag, in the segment. A list of parcel owners will also be provided to you for each segment being pre-screened, and the listings should look fairly similar to the FSA listings provided. This listing identifies landowners within the segment, rather than the land operators that we are trying to identify. Often, these landowners will be just a starting point to help find operators in the segment, but they may be assigned a track letter if they are living in the segment, operating in the segment, or if no other operator can be identified for their own land. Potential respondents with a yes in the mailed column on this listing have also been mailed a survey information packet. Now, on this photograph, you will happen to see that this segment has many parcels, but that does not mean that there is going to be an individual tract operator for each of these parcels. Each of these different parcels could be owned by a different person, but could still be operated by the same person. When you reach out to potential operators, they should also have a copy of this CoreLogic parcel map in hand, and they may be able to help you more clearly identify which parcels they are operating themselves, and possibly also what other adjacent or neighboring parcels other people might be operating within the segment. During pre-screening, enumerators are allowed and encouraged to drive around their segments to observe the segment before reaching out to potential operators. The goal of this visit should be to observe landmarks, familiarize oneself with the segment, its boundaries, and its contents, and observe or confirm the presence of agriculture in different parts of the segment. Knowledge of the segment gained from driving around it can help during conversations with people operating or living in the segment. Keep in mind, however, that the guidelines for enumeration during pre-screening were designed to protect the health and safety of both enumerators and respondents. The following guidelines presented here help to promote and protect the safety and health of enumerators and respondents. First, it will be important that you plan your routes efficiently. Use all available resources, whether that be Google Earth or paper maps, to ensure that your travels are completed with cost efficiencies in mind. Be sure to limit your exposure and contact with others. You should not be getting out of your car to talk to anyone. You also should not be visiting any USDA service centers, county assessor offices, or any other offices or businesses for the purposes of identifying operators. Keep in mind that many of the employees of these locations are working from home during the pandemic and may not even be there. All enumerators must use PPE. Be sure to wear a mask when stopping at a gas station or a restaurant. Be sure to wash your hands thoroughly or use hand sanitizer after visiting any place like a gas station or a restaurant and any other outside contact. As you are inspecting the segment, be sure to pull over to jot down your notes. Note any landmarks or road names that could identify tracks operated when you are talking with potential operators over the phone. Be sure to document any non-ag tracks you see with good descriptions. If you can't see a particular name associated with the parcel, take note to see if there is any agricultural production there. Maybe there is some winter wheat that is sitting in the field. Maybe there is some corn stubble left over from last fall's harvest. Be sure to take note of any landmarks in the segment, such as ditches, tree lines, or waterways. Take note as to names and addresses on mailboxes or houses or signs at the end of the driveway. Now that we've talked about precautions you need to take when you're going out and visiting the segments you are going to pre-screen, I want to remind you of some general things regarding field visits to these segments. The manual tells you to bring things like state highway maps, county highway maps, copies of the pre-screening forms for the segments you are visiting for that day, copies of the aerial photo, extra blank screening forms, a clipboard, perhaps one with a plastic cover to protect it from the weather, your acreage grid, the photo markers, and your iPad. There are some other things that are a good idea to leave in your car at all times. For example, it might be a good idea to have a NASDA sign for your windshield in case people start to wonder why you're driving around their neighborhood very slowly, looking around at what everyone has on their property in a possibly suspicious manner. Make sure you have boots and a raincoat for unexpected changes in the weather. Having extra pens and sharpened pencils, along with pockets and a pencil sharpener, can be important when you're out in the field and you need to get things written down. Don't forget your highway maps, your interviewer's manual, and the NASDA employee handbook in case you run into some difficult situations. As you leave home, be sure that you are wearing appropriate clothing for the weather. In March and April, things can change unexpectedly from very warm to very cold and very dry to very wet. Bring food, snacks, and water with you so you don't necessarily have to stop at a store or a restaurant. Make sure you do have money or a credit card with you in case you do need to stop and purchase something. Keep your cell phone with you, assuming you have one. Don't forget your name tag and your NASDA ID in case you do have to interact with someone who is wondering what you are doing snooping around their neighborhood. Of course, if you have some timesheets or a way to keep a log of where you are going and when you are there, that will be important in the event you have an accident when driving around the segment. Here's a couple of other things to think about before you hit the road. Be sure to plan your route to where you are going before you leave your home and consider alternative routes just in case weather conditions make roads impassable. Leave a note letting people know where you are going, not the specific operation you're going to visit, but more a general location where you're going to be and when you are expected to return in case of emergency. Finally, don't forget to keep track of your odometer readings so that you can claim mileage on your timesheet. Thank you for your time and attention, and good luck out there.